That sound. That piercing shriek in the middle of the grocery store. It feels personal. It feels like a judgment. But what if that scream isn't random chaos? What if it's actually a predictable signal? Researchers put tiny microphones on toddlers and recorded thousands of tantrums. And what they discovered is a secret map to your child's brain. We're about to give you that map, with 10 secrets that will change everything you thought you knew about meltdowns. Let's be honest, nothing makes you feel more like a failure than a full-blown toddler tantrum. You feel helpless, you feel judged, and you feel completely alone. But you're not. Over 75% of kids between 18 and 60 months old have them. For years, we've been told to ignore them, punish them, or distract them away. A whole library of myths that just make us feel worse when they don't work. But what if the real enemy isn't the tantrum itself, but our misunderstanding of it? This question led scientists to ask, is there a hidden structure in the chaos? Their answer gives you a window into your child's world and a completely new way to respond. At the University of Minnesota, a team led by Dr. Michael Potigal decided to ignore the parenting books and just listen. They wanted to get past the guesswork and find out what a tantrum actually is. So they placed tiny, wireless microphones on toddlers and did something incredible. They recorded over 100 complete tantrums, from the first frustrated whine to the final exhausted sob. Then, using acoustic analysis, they broke down every single sound. And they found something that sounds like chaos to our ears is actually a structured event. The biggest discovery? That anger and sadness are two totally different things, with their own unique vocal patterns. Knowing how to spot the difference is the key to unlocking the entire puzzle. Lesson 1. Distinguish between anger and sadness. The first, most powerful secret is this: a tantrum is not one thing. We've been fighting the wrong battle. We think we're fighting a single giant monster called a tantrum, but the science shows it's really two separate emotions wrestling at the same time: anger and sadness. Your child isn't just throwing a fit. They are angry that their goal was blocked, and they are sad about the whole situation. This changes everything. It means your job isn't to be a manager of bad behavior, but a guide for two different feelings. It's like being an emotional detective. Instead of using a one-size-fits-all approach, you can now respond to what's actually happening. This single shift in perspective is the foundation for everything else. Lesson 2. Identify anger vocalizations. Second, you need to learn to spot the sound of anger. It has a very specific vocal signature. The research is clear. Anger sounds like screaming and yelling. These sounds are acoustically harsh and loud for a reason. They are designed by evolution to be impossible to ignore. They are a primal alarm bell that says, something is wrong. When your child erupts because you took away the toy, that yell is a raw, unfiltered signal of frustration. The study also found that these sounds often come with physical actions, like kicking or throwing. Think of these not as your child being bad, but as the physical explosion of the anger they can't contain. When you recognize that screaming is just a signal for anger, it stops feeling like a personal attack. You can think, this is the peak of their anger, instead of, they are screaming at me. This is the data you need to know where they are in the meltdown. Lesson 3. Recognize sadness as distress. Third, just as anger has a voice, sadness has one too, but it speaks a different language. The researchers found that crying, whining, and fussing are all vocal expressions of sadness or distress. This is so important. While yelling shouts, "I protest," crying and whining whisper, "I'm overwhelmed and I need you." This is a fundamentally different communication. Even if it's buried in the middle of a screaming fit, a cry is a sign that your child is feeling distressed and might be ready for comfort. It's easy to get annoyed by whining, but the science validates it as a real, low-intensity signal of sadness. It's a quiet plea for help. Seeing it this way allows you to tune into the emotion behind the noise and see their need for comfort, a need they simply don't have the words for yet. Lesson 4. Expect an early peak in anger. Here's one of the most practical secrets. Anger hits hard and fast. The study found that screaming, yelling, and physical outbursts almost always peak very early in the tantrum and then start to fade. Think about that. The part that sends your heart racing, the part that makes you want to scream back, it happens right at the beginning. This is a superpower. Instead of being blindsided by the explosion, you can expect it. You can tell yourself, okay, here comes the storm. This is the worst part, and it will pass. Knowing this helps you stay anchored. You can brace for that initial wave without getting swept away by it, and without adding your own anger to the fire. You're no longer a victim of the explosion. You're an observer, watching a predictable wave rise and fall. Lesson 5. Monitor sadness throughout the tantrum. So the anger wave crashes early. But what about sadness? The fifth insight is that sadness doesn't follow the same rules. Crying and whining are present throughout the entire tantrum, from start to finish. This busts a huge myth. We often think tantrums have two acts: first anger, then sadness. But the research shows a child can be sad even while they're screaming in anger. They're intertwined. Their face might be red with rage, but their eyes are full of tears. This means you don't have to wait for the anger to vanish before you acknowledge their hurt. Look for those little signs of sadness, even in the middle of the fire. It reminds you that underneath the aggressive behavior is a small person who is hurting and overwhelmed. Lesson 6. Don't ignore the small sounds. The sixth point is a reminder. Listen for the whispers, not just the shouts. In a storm of screaming, it's easy to dismiss the quieter sounds, like whining and fussing. But the acoustic analysis proved these are legitimate members of the sadness family, just at a lower volume. We are wired to find these sounds annoying. It's so easy to say, "Oh, stop complaining." But this research confirms that a whine is a real signal of emotional distress. Think of it like a low battery warning on your phone. Ignoring it or getting irritated by it can easily push your child back into a full-blown cry or scream. By respecting the whine as much as you respect the sob, you are telling your child that all their feelings are valid, building the trust you need to help them through it. Lesson 7. Use vocal cues to gauge intensity. This brings us to the seventh secret. You have an emotional dashboard. The research didn't just sort sounds into anger and sadness, it created an intensity scale for each. For anger, screaming is more intense than yelling. For sadness, crying is more intense than whining, which is more intense than fussing. This is your in-the-moment tracking tool. By listening closely, you can tell if things are escalating or de-escalating. A child whose screams are turning into yells is coming down from the peak. A child whose sobs are softening into whines is moving toward regulation. This is so empowering. You're no longer lost in a wall of noise. You're reading the data. You can finally tell how severe the storm is and which way the wind is blowing. Lesson 8. Timing your intervention. Knowing when to step in is everything. And this is where so many of us get it wrong. The eighth insight is your guide to timing. The research shows that sadness is directly linked to seeking comfort. While a child in peak anger will push you away, a child expressing sadness is neurologically more open to being soothed. This tells you exactly what to do. Trying to offer a hug during the initial angry explosion is like trying to reason with a tornado. It's just not going to work. Your job is to be a calm, safe presence while the anger storm passes. But as soon as the sounds of sadness get louder, the tears, the cries, the whines, a window opens. That is the moment they are biologically ready for your comfort. By waiting for the sounds of sadness, you are timing your help to the moment they can actually receive it. Lesson 9. Understand the difficulty of interrupting. Now for the secret that gives you permission to be human. Tantrums have what researchers call emotional momentum. This 9th point is a profound validation. Once a tantrum is in full motion, it is incredibly difficult to stop. It's not your fault. It's not that you're a bad parent or that your child is defiant. It's that you are up against a powerful biological process. Trying to stop a full-blown meltdown with logic or distraction is like trying to stop a speeding train with your bare hands. It feels impossible because it almost is. Realizing this lifts a huge weight off your shoulders. You can let go of the pressure to fix it immediately. Your job is not to stop the storm. Your job is to be the lighthouse, to make sure they are safe, to stay calm yourself, and to guide them through it. Lesson 10. View tantrums as emotional practice. This final insight reframes everything. What if tantrums aren't a problem to be solved? The 10th point is that we should see tantrums as emotional practice. Researchers call them a unique window into a child's developing brain. They are not a sign of failure, not for you and not for your child. They are what it looks like when a small person is trying to figure out huge feelings like anger and sadness without the words to explain them. Each tantrum is a workout for their emotional system. And when you respond by staying calm during their anger and offering comfort during their sadness, you are not just surviving the moment. You are their coach. You are actively teaching them how to handle these feelings, building the foundation for emotional resilience they will use for the rest of their lives. So remember, that tantrum isn't chaos. It's a language. And now you know how to speak it. You can be the calm anchor in their emotional storm. What was the most surprising thing you learned? Let me know in the comments below, and subscribe for more science-backed parenting truths.